Hello and welcome to Etsy and E-Comm with the Professional Mom, a brand new podcast starting in 2025, helping you to launch a business, ideally starting with the Etsy platform, which I love, and giving you the opportunity to see what can be beyond Etsy, whether you're ready to scale or even if you've determined that Etsy isn't for you, but you know that there is a flexible online realistic money-making option out there for you. Hey, I'm Rebecca Boland, a corporate finance professional turned full-time mompreneur, and I have been teaching myself so many different online platforms and tools over the past 4 or 5 years that I am just excited about and want to talk to somebody else about. Thanks for joining me and giving this brand new fledgling podcast a chance. I can't promise that it is going to be perfect. I can't promise that it will be very well produced. I do hope that the audio comes through, and I promise that I will make it better and better each week. But I do want to let you know that I intend to give away all of the value I can. I want to share all of the insights I've gained and give you actionable, down-to-earth strategies that make it possible for you to build a business online as well, no matter what level of tech savvy you are or aren't. I know there's a lot of podcasts out there and there's a lot of different voices and a lot of different opinions. So I just wanted to take this episode to tell you a little bit more about who I am. I know that I'm not a big social media user and I am trying to work on being more present. But right now, I'm just kind of a behind the scenes, faceless business strategy coach, and that makes it harder for you to know who the heck I am to be talking to you about Etsy and growing an online business. So my goal is that by the end of this episode, you'll know what makes this podcast different, why I'm passionate about helping women step into e-commerce, and maybe how my journey can give you fresh ideas for your own success. And I promise all my episodes aren't going to be all about me and my shops and what I'm doing, but hopefully it'll be the first step forward to saying hello and making a connection. And I'd love for you to say hello back to me. I'll give you all of my contact information at the end of the episode. Honestly, I don't have a lot of people in my circle in real life who are entrepreneurs. And anybody that shares this journey knows that it can be hard, it can be lonely, it can be weird to try to explain to others. And if you really love it the way that I have come to love, you want to talk about it. So that's what I plan to do with this podcast. And hopefully some of you will talk back to me so that in the near future, I'm not just talking to an empty microphone. And I know that there are ears on the other end. Now, I currently have 5 Etsy shops. And that's not because I'm a 6-figure seller. I don't have teams of people helping me. It's just me, a solo mompreneur. But I started during the COVID lockdown of March 2020, and I quickly became obsessed with trying to crack this Etsy code. Admittedly, I'm kind of a numbers nerd who loves the data and the research more than even creating the products. And then I get a case of shiny object syndrome when I see a huge opportunity and I kind of stop my marathon and start sprinting in other directions. So now I have these 5 different shops because I have been obsessed with trying out everything from handmade products where I started to now having digital product shops and very recently jumping into print on demand. Through all of those pieces and watching YouTube videos, listening to other podcasts, getting advice wherever I could gather it, I have even found other online monetization opportunities like affiliate marketing and even Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing low content books, which is a really cool thing that I got into and post a little bit about on my YouTube channel. But I'm hoping to blend all of that together. And the brand, The Professional Mom, is something I started when I had my first child, and I honestly knew that I wanted to do something from home, or I wanted to at least have this side hustle or this brand being built, but I didn't know whether it was going to be about working as a full-time mom and remaining a professional while you're a mom and not having to decide between the two, or whether it was going to be being a professional homemaker, a professional mom of the house, wearing all the hats, CEO of the home. We all know that that is more than a job as well. So I kind of blended the two and said, you know what? The professional mom is going to balance all of those things, all of those thoughts that we have in our heads as women who want to have a family, but still know they want to have a career. And I wanted to give presence and acceptance to that thought that you don't have to choose, or it's okay to choose a career. It's okay to want to continue to thrive and want to climb the corporate ladder. That is always what I thought I would do. And being home with my kids is amazing and its own special right. And I would never change for anything. But I also recognize not a lot of people have that option. Not a lot of people see other opportunities. And that just may not be where your true passion lies. And so the professional mom has kind of come about from there. And hopefully in the next year plus here, I plan to kind of tie all that together. Like I said, admitted shiny object syndrome, and be able to deliver you these resources on all of these different things I've been working on, pull it together with a shiny little bow, and help you to figure out which of these platforms, maybe one, maybe more, or if any at all, are going to be the right fit for you to be able to do the same. So all that said, yes, it's the professional mom as a brand. However, you do not have to be a mom. You do not have to be a working professional. You can start a side hustle. You can be retired and just have a craft that people always tell you should be selling these. They're amazing. You can be any age, any gender. You can have any family setup, any structure. But that is the brand that I had in mind when I put it all together. And that's why this podcast is with the professional mom. So that's a lot of information. Normally, if we were sitting here having a cup of coffee together, I'd love to know about you and what you're currently working on and what you're interested in, how you got started. But hopefully at the end of the podcast, you will use that contact information and just email it to me so I can pretend like this is a two-way conversation and it won't be as super weird for me as a brand new podcaster. So going back to how I intend to make this podcast a little different, or what my perspective is, there are a few keys that I wanted to share. I'm not here to tear down anybody else's style. Everybody learns a different way. I know that I like to learn from certain personality types or in certain structures. I know that I love to have a clean, clear takeaway message, like an actionable thing to do at the end of a podcast or at the end of a YouTube video I watch. So my plan is to hopefully emulate that for you as well. I am not a big mindset woo-woo person. Which I know that there's totally a place for that, and I am not knocking that. I just know that my mindset is already determined to make this work. I'm determined to make this happen. I know it's possible. I'm already very positive and very driven. So when I see a lot of things that are like, moms, let's focus on the balance. Moms, let's have a positive mindset. I get that we all need that sometimes, and that's why I surround myself with amazing positive cheerleaders. But I'm always the person that steps in and goes, okay, how? Okay, what do we do next? What does that mean? I don't want to take 10 minutes to meditate. I want to sit at my computer and do something, take a physical action, and make $10 instead of meditate for 10 minutes. But that's me. And I say that lovingly. You guys who meditate are amazing. Maybe one day I'll be able to sit still long enough to do that. But that said, I am way more, let's look at the numbers. I told you I came from a corporate finance background. I like to look at the numbers. I like to look at the money. I like to figure out the story in what's happening behind your business. What is selling? Why is it selling? Are we making enough money from it? Are you really accounting for every teeny tiny cost that is going into your product? What do your margins look like? Things like that can be intimidating for people that don't have that background or don't enjoy it. That's kind of what I thrive on and I love. So if you have that creative side, that crafty side, that skill side, we're going to make a good team balancing one another out. and moving forward in our entrepreneurial journeys. I like to reverse engineer things. I like to sit down and say, hey, this is working. I can see that this person is selling a ton of these. What is it about it that's making it work? Is it the animal print? Is it the color? Is it on is it on the Gen Z trend? Let's figure out what it is. How can we reverse engineer it, take it down to the basics, and make our own iteration that is new and improved. So hopefully you can just tell in my voice and how I talk, like I'm not going to be a negative Nancy. I'm not going to be a Debbie Downer. I do try to motivate and inspire, but I'm also going to be honest about the hardships, and I'm going to be honest about hurdles. Like transparency is transparency. You know, people can say that they are six-figure gurus because financially that is accurate. However, if you are talking about a revenue number, you can be a six-figure guru who actually has seven figures in costs and expenses to your business and actually is losing money, not profitable. So I just want to be another voice in the mix that's kind of helping to flip the coin, helping people to show that just because something is trendy and thriving and viral on social media doesn't mean it's not true, but it also doesn't mean that it is. So helping to kind of just shine a light on what it means when you see a six-figure, a seven-figure seller, what it means when people say they made $10,000 in a month, and what the reality of that is. And if it is real, what goes in behind the scenes, because even if they say it's passive, there had to be work somewhere in the mix to even get that started. Jumping off all that, you can tell that what I'm going to talk about and spend time talking about is a lot more of exactly what I'm doing in my business and how it can translate to yours, whether you are in a digital or a physical or a print on demand style role, or even if you're deciding which of those paths to go down. Either way, I have tried out 3 or 4 of the top search engine optimization tools for Etsy. And I know which ones I love. I know which ones I recommend. I know what it's like to be starting without a ton of upfront money to invest. So I don't just throw things at the wall just to tell you to invest in every platform under the sun or every research tool there is out there. And on the flip side, even without tools, I like to talk to you about understanding the business basics, like the finance, how to price your products, how to tell a story in your marketing, how to create a cohesive brand, and without doing all of that in this big, overwhelming way. Like, let's keep it down to earth, relatable, accessible. You're busy, I'm busy. If you want it to be realistic, sometimes it just has to be messy. And that was one thing I really had to overcome. I know that especially when you put your name on something, if you recognize the value of your reputation and your own personal brand, then you don't want to release something into the world that's not 110%. And what I have learned through a lot of trial and error is that with e-commerce especially, and being self-taught and being a one-woman show, you just got to do it. It's just going to be messy because the people out there that are succeeding are putting something out there 70% done and it's making money and people are providing great feedback. So if you can start with 70% done, it's going to be a lot easier to soup up your product or rebrand yourself than it is to start with a blank page every day. Okay, so that's a lot of information, and it was a lot of me talking about me to myself with a microphone in my kitchen, so that feels super weird. Again, but hopefully you get a little bit more insight into who I am. You understand whether you'd want to grab a coffee with me, and ultimately you are hopefully driven to listen to the future episodes for this podcast. I would love your support. Even if you're not sure whether this podcast will be for you right now, hit subscribe so that you're notified about all of the weekly episodes, and you can always pick and choose the topics that most interest you. So as I promised, my best method of contact, and I would love to hear from you right now, is at email, because I know that I'm bad with social media and I would hate to drive you there and then just fully ghost you. So email me at hi, at theprofessionalmom.com. No spaces, nothing fancy there. I will also drop it below in the show notes as soon as I learn how to leave some show notes. And again, that's hi@theprofessionalmom.com. And just let me know you're listening. Like, you don't have to say anything fancy. Just say, hey, I actually heard your episode. It was not as terrible as possible. Anything like that would be really great. We all know that we need our own little encouragement sometimes. So if one of your girls was starting a podcast and this was her first episode, if you would pat her on the back and say, hey, that wasn't too terrible, I wouldn't mind that either, just just to be perfectly honest. But that is it for now. I don't have any fancy wrap-ups. I just encourage you to keep listening and encourage you to share where you're at in your story so I can kind of guide my podcast journey in line with what listeners really need help with. For now, have a great week. Goodbye.